Nervous strikers, they'll deliver. Crowd roars erupted. You can feel the quake. 80,000 voices.
Hello there, welcome to the show, Nigerian football fans, African football fans, Premier League football fans. You're welcome to the show today. So let's go straight into it. Huge talking points today to talk about from yesterday's game, and of course talk about Nigerian Super Eagles, talk about the Flying Eagles, we'll talk about the weird rules that FIFA sort of, would I say, exceptions or whatever they've chosen to call it, that kind of denied, they've kind of given powers to clubs, mainly European clubs, to either give permission to their players to join their under 20 national team sides for the FIFA, for the apparently FIFA World Cup, and we'll be talking about all of those, and of course we'll talk about Premier League debuts. So speaking about the Premier League, game just finished not too long ago. Liverpool won 1-0. Incidentally, a Nigerian eligible player in Leslie Ugochukwu got sent off for a bookable offence, and saw the tackle. It really was one of those ones that the player had to go. And then as well, Spurs won 4-0. Still, they've been 3-0 against West Ham, so they've been on top form since Thomas Frank's taken over the side, so top marks for them. And I think Javi Simons was pretty decent as well in that game, so top marks for Spurs. I wonder how Spurs fans have been feeling about that one. But overall, Thomas Frank has been dying. He's been nice. He's been decent for them. So fair dues on that one. And then we'll go and talk about the Arsenal game. Gyökeres in the mix as well. Noni Madueke playing very well. And people have gone on to put out some stats: no goals, no assists. But it's a bit funny. Stats can be deceiving. They're important, but they can be deceiving if you don't put any context to it. There are times when Noni Madueke created opportunities, like one he laid the ball off to Gyökeres, and Gyökeres smashed the ball on the crossbar. So you see, you have to add context to your analysis of how you see games. You don't just sometimes as a Chelsea fan, or as a rival fan in general, you have to admit when your club makes a mistake. For me, I felt like selling Noni Madueke wasn't the best idea in my humble opinion, but he's been sold. That's done. That's gone. So top marks to Arsenal winning that game 3-0. Gyökeres amongst the goals, no 007 for him. So fair play on that one. And then we go on to talk about Chelsea. The Chelsea one I want to talk about for a bit. Now, there's a VAR incident at the end of the game, for leading up to Brentford's goal. The ball came into the box. The goalkeeper was obviously the Brentford player was obviously offside in front of Robert Sanchez. He made a move towards the ball and should have been chopped off. Should have been called back. But they said no harm, no foul, and the game went on. Now, there's one thing I want to ask right now. Where is this vitriol from the media, right? Where is this vitriol from back in the day when we played the game? This is how we want to play the game. Or is it that you have the media picking and choosing when to speak up, when to criticize things? So, and you can imagine, I'm sure if some Chelsea fans complain, you hear people talking about the Fulham game where VAR was actually correct in their decision not to give that foul. But there you have it. It was chopped off. And that was pretty frustrating for me on the one hand. Now, but overall, Enzo Maresca, I think modern day coaches, Enzo Maresca, Eric Chell, the head coach of Nigerian Super Eagles, can they please come off this nonsense that they seem to want to do, right? Enzo Maresca yesterday, he played with like 3 centre-backs. Wesley Fofana was a wide right centre-back, or was he a right back? I can't even tell. You had Reece James on the bench. Malo Gusto, I don't think he was even part of the team. So why are we doing that? McGee wasn't even part of the starting lineup. So that was a bit wasn't part of the squad at all. So that was a bit strange for me, in my opinion. Like, You were crying out for a striker. Now you have a striker in the building. You drop him off, and you say it's for technical reason. What sort of technical reason are you talking about, right? And then he said he uh, wants to give Tyree George some, confidence going into the game. And how did they give him confidence? By playing him out of position when you did put him on the pitch. And look, Gittins struggled again. He struggled again. And that's why I said Garnacho, I'm not the biggest favorite. He's not my most favorite player for Chelsea. He's not my most favorite signing that Chelsea has ever made. But the way Gittins has been playing, I just think in a couple of days, Garnacho will take his spot. That's the way I just feel it. Because Gittins continues to seem too timid, in my opinion. He seems too scared to go 1v1 his man. He seems too, I don't know, tentative when it comes 1v1 a fullback. And if you're not willing to chase your man, then what good are you for? So maybe the only way he can work at this minute at Chelsea is he starts off the bench in any game. If Chelsea are leading 2-0, 3-0, 15 minutes to go, he comes off the bench and this just helps pepper the opposition defense that probably at that time will be playing with a high line, right? Maybe that can work. But right now, no, I think Garnacho should start ahead of him for the coming games because, yeah, he's just struggling. And for me, back to Enzo Maresca, I have to say this, right? I just have to say it, right? This business of locking your fullbacks in midfield, it makes the wingers struggle. It makes the wingers really struggle. And Gittins, for one, is really struggling. And then we go on to talk about, Caicedo, what a strike a strike deserving of being the winning goal, of winning any game, but combination of VAR, a combination of after Chelsea got that second goal, they began to drop deep automatically, which is just weird to me. But overall, points dropped. So Chelsea should be about fifth or sixth or thereabout on the table. Haven't really checked. So, it's just one game. The season has just started. Going to the next game, let's see what happens. Champions League to come as well. So excited for that one. And then let's talk about some debuts as well. And then still speaking on VAR, we just talked about VAR in the Chelsea game. VAR read his ugly head again in the Crystal Palace game. It was an actual penalty. There was a foul, I think, on Chukwueze Mystery, the Nigerian player, just making his debut. He played for the Super Eagles in World Cup qualifier against South Africa. He's come on and made his debut. And I think he looked pretty decent in my opinion. And I think Crystal Palace are in for a swell time. I think that was a penalty on him. There was contact enough for him to go down. And for whatever reason, VAR has chosen not to give it. So I'm guessing this is the effect of the media, right? When they get their whole narrative spinning, get things churning, get their brew, boiling over their witch's stove, then suddenly it gets into the head of PGMOL, or let's be very careful of decisions we make. Not because the decisions are wrong or right, but we don't want to get lambasted by the media. So that was denied. So, but top marks, I think overall his performance looked good. Chukwueze Mystery. And then, of course, we talk about Arokodare. Arokodare is another one that made his debut in the Premier League for Wolves. In a game they ended up losing to Newcastle United from a goal via Nick Voltemade. So it's another one that will take some time. Who will come good? So top marks on that one. Now we go from that to something even crazier, even weirder. Now, I've heard lots of reasons why coaches have left players out. Like I've heard he's injured. I've heard he doesn't fit my plan. I've heard, this modern manager say things like it's technical reason, you don't play from the squad. But I've never heard anything as ridiculous as what Marco Silva said about why he kept Samuel Chukwueze off the squad, not even on the bench. He said he doesn't know the name of his teammates. Come on now. Where do I begin with that nonsense? It makes no sense to me. Yeah, we've also heard talks about he only knew of him on the day he signed, which is just crazy talk to me. But hopefully, it's just a funny way to say he wants Chukwueze at Tottenham to England a bit more. before giving him his game time. But let's see how it all shapes up in that regard. So top marks overall. I think the two Nigerian players that made their debut in the Premier League, they're fairly decent in my opinion. So fair play in that regard. Now we have to talk about something. We'll get to talk about South Africa. We'll get to talk about points, possible points deduction. We'll talk about Equatorial Guinea and stuff. But we must talk about this, right? Now, there's this FIFA exception thing that at this minute it allows clubs the right or the power to say, we're not releasing a player to you for the FIFA Under 20 World Cup. It makes no sense to me. Now, you've had talk about FIFA saying it doesn't come within the FIFA Under 20 World Cup, doesn't come with their calendar, which is just weird to me, trying to class it like the Olympics. It literally has FIFA in front of the title. FIFA Under 20 World Cup. So that doesn't make any sense to me. Now, what it means that the club can say, we're not releasing this club to this country. And while this is super important for age grade tournaments, is you have lots of players who are dual nationals, right? So, for instance, Chizoram Izenwata, we all heard the news about him agreeing to play for Nigeria and things like that, but he's one of the ones that have been denied, right? Nigeria wanted to invite him, and then FIFA, Chelsea denied that invitation. They rejected the invitation, which is a bit odd to me, right? Because Chizoram Izenwata isn't going to play a single minute for Chelsea first team. It's not gonna happen. And they say it's an exception because of this is a club World Cup year and all that jazz. But so he's not going to play a single minute for the Chelsea first team. Not in a million years. If the likes of McGee can be left off the team, then you know what that means. He's not going to play a single minute. So why is that invitation now denied? Now, wouldn't it be odd if England comes knocking and he ends up playing for England in the Under 20 World Cup? So wouldn't that be odd? That would be odd for me, in my opinion. Now, this is even crazier because even when the player is not a dual national, let's say it's a player signed from Beyond Limits to play for Real Madrid Castilla, and then he's been invited. Real Madrid can say, we're not letting you go. When they know they're just giving the club so much power, and the reasoning doesn't make any sense to me. I wonder what some opinions are with respect to this whole FIFA rules with regards to player invitation and things like that for this Under 20 World Cup. For me, it's just crazy. We've got the likes of Divine Oyemachi as well. Lecce has even gone on the reports. Lecce have denied or declined to accept that invitation from Nigeria, which is crazy to me. And then the rule goes on to be even crazier. Now, if you thought it was crazy for players who wouldn't even have the opportunity to play for that first team of the club to go for the Under-20 World Cup, right? Even if you thought that was crazy, it gets even crazier and even weirder. Now, the weird part of this is this, right? It's not just for the clubs that participated in the Club World Cup. Now, it's for that this benefit goes to the clubs in that country. So, from the Premier League, for instance, using England as a case point, from the Premier League to the Championship to maybe even League Two. So, how does that make any sense? How does that make any sense? Denying players the opportunity to play for their countries. So now, even if, like I said, this would even apply to players with single nationalities. So what happens if you're playing for an academy at Chelsea, in England, and then you have players from England going off to, representing their country, and then you have those maybe from Colombia being denied the opportunity to represent their country? Because right now it's just in the hands of the club. The club can say, we're letting you go. The club can say, we're not letting you go. So this is just crazy, crazy talk to me. And Infantino, his administration, I think, has been riddled with all sorts of controversies. So it's a bit suspect to me. But and then it gives the powers to these more developed countries in terms of football, because you could have a country. I don't know if Georgia they're in this this FIFA Under 20 World Cup at all, but you could have a country that have maybe two star players, and because they are star players, they're playing in an European league, right? And they look to get the player to play for them or invite the player. The club says, no, we're not letting you go. For me, the crazy part is if you're talking about a player that's established himself in the first team, maybe it kind of makes sense. But a player who's still playing on the 17, on the 18 football at these academies, you're denying them the opportunity to play for their country, and then you're also watering down the brand of that under 20 World Cup. Saying it's not on the FIFA calendar is madness to me, right? How would you even go about saying that sort of thing? It doesn't make any sense to me. And now I've talked about Bafana. Equatorial Guinea, they've got 3 points deducted because they feel them an ineligible player, and they've got a 3-goal deficit against them. Now South Africans people that say, "Oh, this is looming. The 3 points deduction is looming over the heads of South Africa." For me, I'm like, if it's looming, why is it being delayed? Why is it being delayed this long? How many months gone, right? How many months gone, and we're still having this whole jazz of it's going to be deducted, it's not going to be deducted. Some people are bringing out their calculators again to talk about Nigerian Super Eagles and saying, if the points are deducted, Nigeria, if South Africa loses a game, Nigeria can qualify. They score 2 if they win the next 2 games, against Lesotho at home, and then I think the next one should be against Zimbabwe away. I think so. If we win those 2 games and South Africa draws 1, you have to win with a high margin, anyways, to get that done. I just think it's a bit iffy, it's a bit dicey to me, and I think it's overall crazy to me that Nigeria will find ourselves in this position. But for me, like I said, it's just for the right thing to be done, right? So irrespective of whether Nigeria qualifies or not, those points should be deducted. I don't get why, it's taking this long, to get it done. So that is absolute madness to me, in my humble opinion. And now there's one thing I want to talk about the Nigerian Super Eagles, how you can fix this team, this can be fixed going forward into the World Cup qualifiers, because that was coming up in October. Because whether or not South Africa draws points, if you've not kept yourself in that position where you can take advantage of it, it makes no sense to me. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. If South Africa draws points and Nigeria goes on to draw against Lesotho or lose against Zimbabwe, it would make no sense. It would make 0 sense. So how do we curb the rot? Now you have the bigger picture of grassroots development, MPFL club structure, integrating players into these various club sides at the MPFL level. We have all that stuff. Change the NFF leadership, because I think likes of Gusau have really failed the country, and I agree with Mikel Obi. As he said, if Nigeria fails to qualify for the World Cup, they all should go. But the question is, who is going to tell them to go? Because according to FIFA rules and regulations and everything, you cannot politically remove a federation chairman. By that I mean, a government cannot come to say you failed, we're sacking you. And once you do that, you get punished for it, right? So you could be banned from participating in FIFA competitions, even banned from participating in CAF competitions. I think that's how Nigeria missed out on a World Cup. I think it was a World Cup in South Africa that Nigeria missed out on. So no, I think was it the World Cup in South Africa? There was a tournament I know Nigeria missed out on because of interference. I think it was the AFCON missed out on because of interference with the Football Federation, then NFA as it used to be. So that is something you have to think about, because people have to then vote out Gusau. Now, in those internal congresses, you have a lot of loyalists that will be loyal to Gusau, because he's bringing them the bread. So who's going to vote him out? That's the question. So do you have members of the NFF Congress that are confident enough, that are, desperate to win enough to vote him out of there? That is the question that we'll have to answer in the coming days. Let's see how that all shapes up. Now, the other side of things is two things. Either Eric Chill changes up. He changes up his ways and says, now I want to play to the strength of the team I have. No monkey business, no mucking about. I'll set the team up the way it suits the players that have the pitch. I'm not going to play Ademola Lookman as a striker. I'm not going to play Calvin Bassey as a left back when I've got two top, efficient, proficient left backs. I'm going to play them in their favorite positions. That's what I'm going to do, right? Or he gets sacked. Either of these two. Either he gets sacked or he changes his ways, because enough of this nonsense of Ademola Lookman as a 9 or my style of football, which seems to be a theme right now of this new wave of coaches. Even Maresca, I had my piece on Maresca, like, you're playing 3 centre backs. What's the benefit? What benefit do you get from playing 3 centre backs? When you're not playing 3-4-3, you're playing actual back 4, but you're playing 3 centre backs. What benefit does that give your team that is so overwhelming that you must do? The same thing with Eric Chill. You have all these wingers in your team: Chukwueze, Ademola Lookman, Simon Moses, Nathan Teller, and then you play Ademola Lookman as a 9 or 8 or whatever you choose to call it. What is the benefit? So either Eric Chill looks at himself and feels that, okay, getting maximum points in the next World Cup qualifying games is more important than preaching about his philosophy. If he doesn't accept that, then he should go. Simple. Then you should go. Because in the South African game, I was really disappointed, because it's easy to point at the player. Yes, just Ekong scored a non-goal. It's easy to point at him. Oh, you scored a non-goal, captain. How could you score a non-goal? Yeah, I get that bit. But it's crazy. It's crazy and mind-numbing for you to see a striker isn't super physical. And the coach is going about playing a super physical style of play, which is going with long balls, and you're expecting the striker to hold off defenders, fend off defenders. And you have a striker that is built for that style of play on the bench. It makes no sense to me. And you say it's your style of football, your philosophy of football. You have Ademola Lookman, a winger. You play him in a 9 position, and you just get him lost the whole game. Because in football, it's quite simple. Put your best players in their favorite position, and then you build from there. Everything you want to do, high pressing, low block, whatever. Look at Mourinho, look at Conte. When they were at Chelsea. Now, you could call them hyper defensive-minded coaches and all that stuff, but one second. You can call them hyper defensive coaches. But they always found a way to allow their best players shine. Like Conte, very defensive, but he had Hazard playing his best football, scoring goals, creating assists. Jose Mourinho, supposedly anti-football, defensive-minded coach, only plays on the counter, but he found a way to get the likes of Lampard averaging 20 goals over 5 seasons. He got the likes of Didier Drogba scoring goals. So the same thing should apply, right? No matter what style of formation you want to play, no matter what your football tactics is, you must put your players like your Ademola Lookman, your Victor Osimhen in positions where they can be their best. Where they can be their best. So for me, I think that is something that needs to be taken into consideration, right? So either he stays and changes his style, or if he's married to his tactics too hard, too much, then he has to go. Then he has to leave. That's where I see it. I know some people will say, oh, planning for the future. Where is the future if you miss out on a World Cup? If you end up maybe finishing in the quarterfinals of the AFCON, where is the future you're having? Then, of course, you have the friendly game that is scheduled for the 4th of November Wonder what that game will be for. Maybe it's a game to prepare for the AFCON, which is crazy because AFCON you should be looking to play, African countries that sort of give you the same kind of vibe, vis-a-vis the countries that you're going to meet in the AFCON. So speaking about the AFCON, that's 98 days away. 98 days away. So that's what we have to keep our eyes out on for. So it's a bit odd to me that you're having to play a Venezuela before the AFCON. That's really, really strange to me. That's really strange. That's really, really, really strange to me. Why you be playing that sort of competition? It's just weird. It's just weird, 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 super weird to me, right? As opposed to, that's what I'm trying to bring up Nigeria's group if that's possible. Let's have a look at the teams in that group and think about what can happen in that group if Nigeria can indeed qualify from those groups, which they should be. They should be able to qualify from the group, but I'm sure a lot of us said the same thing, right? When the World Cup qualifying group was released. I'm sure a lot of us said the same thing. Mm-hmm. One second, please. Okay, so it's a group where Nigeria should ordinarily qualify from, but we've seen what we've seen. We've seen what we've seen, so I'll just share this in a minute. I'm sure some of us know the group. Some of us know the group, but let's share it still. So you've got Tunisia as the toughest group, as the toughest team in the group. But so you've got Nigeria, you've got Tanzania, you've got Uganda, and you've got Tunisia. So Tunisia, Uganda, Tanzania in that group. Nigeria should be able to qualify easily from that group, but we've seen Nigeria drop points like Lesotho, World Cup qualifying, struggle with Zimbabwe. Even the Rwanda victory at home was only a 1-0 victory. So nothing is granted in that group. Nothing is granted. Tunisia, we know the anti-football they can play. Although I say anti-football, for me, I feel you can win football in any way you set your team up. So, because that's it. And then back to how to fix this team. First off, like I said, Eric Chell has to change his mindset. But then, we need to invite certain players into this team, especially with Victor Osimhen, because his coach says he's hoping that, of course, he's missed the league game. He said he's hoping that Osimhen could be available for the Champions League fixture come next week. And we know that right now it's touch and go. So let's see what happens. But if Eric Chell has the style he wants to play, get people that can play the style of play you want. For me, Otele should be in this team because when I look at the left-hand side, Ugademola Lookman, who is the other option? Who is the other option? That is the question. Who is the other option on the left-hand side? There's none. You look at the attack. If Victor Osimhen isn't 100%, even if he becomes fit, who is the other guy that can come on and be that physical threat? Desas is not it. It's not it when it comes to physicality. So Eric Chell, you want to go long ball, want to play physical play, Desas isn't it. So maybe are you going to look at Rafael Dorishimi? He is the next one up, in my opinion. After Arokodare, Victor Osimhen, I think Rafael Dorishimi is the next one up. So would you be giving him a call-up? Because that's what it would take to strengthen the team, to increase the strength in depth. Of course, the most important part is for Eric Chell to actually use this player properly. Now, I would say the likes of Ethan one really tried to get nationality switch and all that, but the way the NFL they're moving really slow. They're moving really slow. That's another thing that I have to point out. Even if this FIFA rule is a weird one, it's a crazy one, it's one that I don't understand why it's even there, because it just seems like, okay, we want to get this club World Cup thing happening, so let's just agree to some stuff irrespective of the countries it affects. And at this point, I'm thinking maybe someone should begin to think of having an alternative football federation, because FIFA they're not a government. They can't be a monopoly on football. So maybe someone comes up with World Football Associations, and try something different. But while that hasn't happened, the NFF, you need to change how you work it, because some of these negotiations should have been done a long time ago for these players. Should have been done a long time ago for these players. So let me know your opinions on the various topics I've talked about. First off, I've talked about Chelsea dropping points to Brentford, VAR, controversy as usual. And then I also said the way Enzo Maresca set up that team, just crazy to me, in my opinion. And then, of course, we talked about Crisantos Uche making his debut. Should have got the penalty as well. Wasn't given. Arokodare also made his debut in the Premier League. Leslie Gochuku got sent off in the game of Liverpool. Liverpool scored the last penalty, so they've won that one. And then, of course, you got the Manchester Derby, Manchester City, and Manchester United, who's going to win that one. Man City hasn't really started super confidently, but looking at two sides, you're thinking Manchester City probably wins that one against what's the face against Manchester United. So let's see how that all shapes up. And then, of course, we talk about Fulham manager Marco Silva saying, first off, he had said he didn't even know who Samuel Chukwueze was until he signed him, which is crazy to me, because at least you should have been talking with your ownership, with your board, or your group, your chairman, or at the very least, you possibly would have seen or heard of him playing for AC Milan. So I don't know what that was. Now he's come up with an even stranger comment that says why he didn't play Chukwueze was because, he didn't even have him in the squad, or because he didn't know Chukwueze didn't know the name of his teammates, which is crazy to me, which is a bit odd. But like I said, maybe that's just some exaggerated way of saying he needs to settle down a bit before he gets to be part of the team. So that's something we have. That's something for you to know, for us to talk about, like why Chukwueze, I think, should be ready to come in and play for Fulham. But the manager, I think, at Fulham, he has the right to decide what he wants to decide for his team. And I don't really care that much about Fulham anyways, to be bothered. But hopefully he does get needed game time there, because after all, that's the whole reason you're leaving AC Milan to join Fulham. And then, of course, we've been talking about how to fix this Super Eagles team, how to make sure Nigeria gets maximum points in the club World Cup World Cup qualifiers. Now, for me, it's not about qualification; it's just about saving pride right now. That's it, saving face. Because yes, we want to qualify. Of course, we want to qualify, but right now it's all about saving face. Because right now, you look at it, South Africa, really, are they going to lose the game? Are they really going to lose the game? They'll be playing against Rwanda. So are they really going to lose the game when they play against Rwanda and they play against Zimbabwe again? Are they really going to lose the game? I'm not quite sure. They could end up winning both of those. And are we 100% sure the way this team is and the way Eric Chell has been moving with the Super Eagles, that Super Eagles would go into the game versus Zimbabwe and Lesotho and win? At the end of the game versus South Africa, he came up to say, that's Eric Chell, came up to say that was a good result. We wanted to win, but that was a good result. No. How did he even say that? For me, that's a sackable offense. Coming up to say that was a good result, 1-1, when that will put you 6 points behind South Africa. So leaving yourself hoping and praying about second spot with Benin Republic, and hoping and praying that, because the complication with this second spot thing is the fact that you finish second doesn't mean you qualify for the playoff, for the World Cup. The fact that you finish second just means that, okay, you come into the consideration for that best second place team. And we are seeing teams who are in second spot right now that have more points than South Africa, who are the league leaders in this group, in Nigeria's group. So that is a major problem. So even if Nigeria finishes second, are we too sure that they're going to make the jump to be one of the best placed second teams? And then even when that happens, you've got to play against other teams in a semi-final and then the playoff final. And when you do that, it's not even yet done. You have to then go play another playoff again against teams from South America and Oceania. So are you super sure that you can even qualify? So for me, going into those two games is just to save face, is just to have a positive end to the qualifying series, right? Go into those games, get your 6 points, and let's see. But if it's you're going to those games thinking to qualify, no, I just think the way South Africa has been this tournament, yeah, the one team they really feared was Nigeria. Like that's one team they really feared. I think for the most part, Lesotho they're going to beat Lesotho anyway. Zimbabwe, I think they're going to beat them anyways. So I don't see how South Africa doesn't qualify. If they lose both games or if they drop a point, in fact, what needs to happen? They need to just get a draw because the highest points total Nigeria can get is 17 points. That's the highest point total. Okay, now Nigeria sits on 11 points. You win one game, you get to 14. You win another game, you get to 17. And so that's it. The highest point total you can get is 17 points. And South Africa are already on 17 points. So even if they draw one game, I think that's curtains. That's curtains, right? Except you're thinking about, we qualify based on. You can't get it. It's 17 points. They draw one game, it's done. It's done. You're thinking they're going to lose any of those games? No, that's not going to happen. Not going to happen. It's just sad that they left the team this late. And how to fix Nigerian football, I've done a video about it. You can go check it out. I've done a live stream about how to fix Nigerian football, but that's a different discussion. But for me right now, I think the team needs tinkering. Some faces don't need to be in the team anymore. You need to have some new faces. And then Chill, my God, he has to either amend his ways, change his tactics, or at the very least, right? Invite players that match how he wants to play. If you want to play with 3 10s, wherever you get the 10s from, invite them to play. But don't want to play with 3 10s and you have 4 wingers in your squad and you play them out of position. It does not help. It doesn't help. So I don't know what your thoughts and opinions are. Let me know in the chats, in the comments, what you think about the just qualification hopes. I just think that that's gone. What do you think about Eric Chill? Does he still have a future in Nigeria? But Victor Osimhen, do you think he'll be fit enough to come back for the World Cup qualifying games? Because his coach is already saying, hoping and praying he's fit enough for that game. And now, back just to talk about Premier League a bit, right? What do you think about VAR? For me, I think VAR, there's no real problem about VAR that much. I just feel like you have incompetent people there, VAR, and the PGMOL guys, you have a lot of people that they only care about how they are looked at. They care about their reputation as opposed to getting things right. Because the Fulham game against Chelsea last week, that's last game week, the right result was got, and then what happened? The whole media vitriol, the whole media backlash, whatever, and now they've used that as a basis to deny Chelsea, what should have been a win. So it's just craziness to me. So what do you thoughts and opinions on that? Let me know what you're thinking. And then of course on the 20 business, what are your thoughts on it? This till that the club has the power to say we're not letting players go, and it doesn't even matter if they're playing for the academy. Now, like I said, it's one thing if these players are playing for the first team and all that, but you're playing for the academy, so they can't release those players. And it's not like they can't release those players; they can't release the players, but they can decide not to. So that means that just favors some teams. And so thanks for joining. I'll be back in a few seconds to continue with the show, so don't go anywhere. Yeah, so finally I'm back. Thanks for staying on. Now, but on the positive note, respect to this whole FIFA business, at least Areli Parabo's club has released him to Nigeria, so he should be playing in this under 20 World Cup. So fair play in that regard. Ebenezer Harcourt as well will be playing for Nigeria in the under 20 World Cup. So that fine to see, but for me, it's just that the likes of Chisora Mezenwata will not be seeing him playing for Nigeria, and Divine Yematch we may not be seeing him playing for Nigeria as well because Lecce apparently have denied his invitation to the Super Eagles camp, and the team that about traveling to Chile. So that's just super frustrating for me. I just think that the likes of Chizera Mezenwata, the likes of Spieth Asuzu too. I think those players could have been game changers for the team. So disappointing. But speaking on the FIFA Under 20 World Cup, how well do you think Nigeria would do? What are your expectations for that tournament? For me, the AFCON, the 20 AFCON, that is, whereas Chelsea, Nigeria finished in the third spot and winning the bronze medal. I wasn't super impressed with how the team played. So I want to see an improvement. I want to see an improvement in that team. I want to see an improvement in how they choose to attack, how they choose to create opportunities, to score goals. So I want to see a better performance. And let's just look at the group 4. Look at the under 20 World Cup. Let's have a review of that group. A review of the under 20 group where we have the Flying Eagles in. Let's see. Let's see. Then we got Colombia in that group as well. So we've got Colombia, we've got Saudi Arabia, we've got Norway. So these are teams that Nigeria should be. This is a group Nigeria should be confident of qualifying from. But you see that now and then the tournament comes and then you see the team struggling. So we've got Colombia, got Saudi Arabia, got Norway, and then got Nigeria. So looking at this group, you're thinking probably Nigeria should be able to beat Norway, beat Saudi Arabia, maybe draw Colombia, or even beat them. But the way things have gone so far for Nigeria, this may turn out to be a tougher group than expected, and especially seeing that the team is short in some areas. So I'd like to know your thoughts and opinions on this team. Who do you see starting? Who do you think would make a difference for this team? What are your expectations of the team? Even so, my expectations, simple. Nigeria should be winning this World Cup. Those are my expectations. In this under 20 tournament, Nigeria should be winning. They talk about Shola Ogundu not joining the team. I don't think that is good. I don't think it's advisable to do because I just have a sneaky feeling that age-wise, he may just slightly fall off the mark in terms of his age. But if the NFL are sure about it, want to invite him, no problem. But another thing is this mystery team where no one knows who's on that list. We've heard that Eric Parabo club has given permission, but we haven't seen the list. And this is just how many days to the start of the World Cup, right? This is 18 days. No. This is less than a month. Less than a month, and we don't know, who is in the team. We don't know the squad list. We haven't even seen an official provisional list, which is just odd to me. So who do you think is going to qualify from this group? What are your expectations of Nigeria going into this under 20 World Cup? I've set my expectations. Nigeria winning the group. That's it. Let's see if they're able to do it. And then so that's about the Under-20 World Cup. As things continue to evolve and going to develop, I'll continue to bring them to you as well. And just to say, I'll be having another reaction to another grassroots game on here on this channel. I did that for the for Sporting Lagos and Bagada FC that are on here. I'll do the Beyond Limits game as well, and maybe do the VOE game too as well on this channel. So that's my way of putting these grassroots clubs from Nigeria in the spotlight. So we'll just run through what we've talked about so far on the channel. So we talked about Chukwueze Mystery and Arokodare making their debuts. And of course, Arokodare unfortunately was on the losing side. His team lost to a goal from Nick Voltamade for Newcastle United. Talk about the VAR madness yesterday that denied Chelsea 3 points. And of course, Maresca did his jail thing. He did with the starting lineup playing with 3 centre backs, even though you're playing with a back 4, which is just weird to me. Weird in my opinion, but there you have it. So my big question has been VAR with all this. When was with all this victory you usually get, like off the back of the Fulham game, there was all this talk about VAR is this, VAR is that, VAR is bad. But now you've come to this situation where you've seen VAR again. No one has said anything about it. Everyone has kept quiet. And then we'll talk about Chukwueze. Marco Silva, the coach of Fulham, saying he didn't play him because he doesn't even know the name of his teammates, which is crazy to me. I don't think you need to know the name of your teammates, to start. He said it was signed on the last day of transfer window. I think by now he should have been registered. So I don't understand why he hasn't played. But to be fair, Kelvin, the Brazilian signing, didn't get to play, although he was in the squad. Chukwueze wasn't in the squad. That's odd to me. So let's see what happens. Maybe it's keeping him fresh for Nigerian Super Eagles, who knows? And then, of course, we've got the whole Victor Osimhen thing that he may miss out on. He has already missed out on the league game, and then right now he's tentative whether he will play in the Champions League fixture for Galatasaray. And that's why this just makes the whole rubbish. It just makes rubbish of what Asamoah Gyan had come out to say, which was very disrespectful in my opinion, coming out to say Victor Osimhen was faking an injury. That's just super, super disrespectful and just shows lack of insight. And I like to say this, that dragging players, dragging people down is not the way to grow. Nigerians take note. Africans take note. It's not sustainable. It's not a sustainable way, and we should do a lot better. So that's what I want. And of course, Ola is out for 6 months. He got injured in the South African game, so he didn't play for Nottingham Forest. He's out for 6 months. So we wish him all the best with speedy recovery. And then, of course, we're going to talk about this under-20 thing, under-20 business with all the with this FIFA ruling that's now making clubs have the ability to refuse to release players to their clubs. Now for Argentina, they don't have that problem because they have Bayer Leverkusen has agreed to release what's his name, Echeverri, to them to play in the Under-20 World Cup. So fair plays in that regard. But for me, these are just some exciting players that I would have loved to see, playing this Under-20 tournament that won't be making it. And it just odd to me. And then as well, speaking about grassroots players, I did a video earlier today because we seem to have unearthed another Benjamin Frederick. He plays for Sporting Lagos FA, their academy. So I think that is another one that we should be on the lookout for. His name is Naziru Ishak. I think the way he plays that from the back, the way he holds up the attackers when they press him is super press resistant. Obviously, I'm not saying bring it down to Super Eagles yet. Need to see how he develops and progresses through the grassroots. But I was really impressed with what I saw. When he played in that Beyond Limits game. In that game for Bagada FC. So super impressed with him. Want to see how he develops, and we'll bring that on to you on here. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. To share these videos, people you feel will love content like this. And we want this channel to grow. I want this channel to grow because there are things I want to do and I can't do if this channel hasn't got to the level that it needs to get to. Because I want this channel to be a thing that would not only talk about Premier League football, not only talk about Nigerian football or put spotlight on Nigerian football players, but also help people do things like giveaways for players, for some grassroots players, if it's boots, if it's jerseys, if it's kits, you know, something that can give back to people, help make this something that could be people's careers. Because if the channel really grows, say 100, 200,000 subscribers, it could be a platform that could actually employ people and pay people. So these are things I'm looking to achieve on here with this channel. People don't get it how powerful football is and how powerful the content we put out here is. Now my channel may not be the biggest, but when you look at what big channels are able to do, in terms of spotlighting talent, in terms of creating narrative around talent, in terms of getting big deals that they in turn used to invest in other things. Like for instance, you've got Mr. Beast. What he's doing, he's apparently providing drinking water for villages in Nigeria and other parts of Africa. Now I have my issues with how he's done some things, but overall, nice gesture. And I think if someone who is actually Nigerian gets that position, gets that platform, gets that opportunity, I'll definitely be able to do a whole lot. So that's one of the passions for me for this channel, right? Obviously, I talk about Nigeria all day. The Under-20 World Cup coming up. I'll be having watch-alongs on here for all the games, for most of the games, and for all the games that Nigeria will be playing. The World Cup qualifiers, the 2 remaining World Cup qualifying games as well. I'll be having watch-alongs on here for them. So keep your eyes peeled for that one, definitely. And then, of course, when the AFCON comes around, and that'll be from December to January. From December this year to January next year, we'll have watch-alongs, we'll have reaction videos. Hopefully, we'll have panel sessions that some of you can actually come on and join. But one other thing I want to do as well is improve visibility for display for the grassroots. And if you don't have certain numbers, no matter the knowledge you have, no matter the insight you can give, you wouldn't be able to give that visibility to these players that they deserve. For me, I think that's what distinguishes a Nigerian player in a Nigerian grassroots club, or even a Nigerian MPFL club, and a player playing for, let's say, La Masia, playing for Castilla. It's not the lack of talent, it's the platform that is given to those talents. And right now, the NFF, they're not really looking at giving these players a sort of platform. The LMC, they're not really looking at giving players a sort of platforms. And there's only so much you can keep talking and talking about, right? You have to be able to do something to affect these players, help give them a good platform. And it's only if this channel really grows that I can give these players the platform they deserve. That I can speak enough. And then people can say, oh, what's this guy that was on this Uganda football channel that is maybe 20,000 subscribers, 30,000 subscribers. Okay, he's a person that we should listen to. So that's super important as well. And then give him back. Some of these players at grassroots level, some of them don't have, good enough boots. That's something I want to do. You have some people that can't even start the grassroots clubs themselves. So that's something I want to support. And I can only support that if this channel is supported. So there's a membership group on here you can join. You've seen a video I've already put on there for members only, which says it's a short nonetheless, but it says why you should support the channel, the reason behind this. Because I, for a long time, I'll tell you this quick story. Growing up, my dad used to listen to PVC on the radio when he woke up in the morning. That's one of the ways you would know that he was up and about for the day. You would hear news on BBC. So you hear something like, the BBC World News. They talk about what is happening in the US, talk about what's happening in England, what's happening in Germany, all over the world. And then 5 minutes to go, or 5 minutes to the end of the show on BBC, then they'll now say African news. And then talk a bit about a lot of bad things that are going on in Africa, and that'll be it. Right? So I see this channel as something that could help me not change everything completely, but at least with respect to, football, Nigerian football, African football, giving spotlight to players, showcasing players on the channel, and also impacting and affecting lives, because I believe this channel can be something that can be giving people scholarships, back in Nigeria. That's something I think can be done, achieved by this channel. And it can only be achieved if this channel grows, if the channel continues to grow, subscriber count continues to grow, and it generates real revenue, then I can really then go on and give back and help people that I want to help. So sorry to bore you with that long talk, but that's one of the core things at the heart of this channel, because a lot of people come on here, they have YouTube channels, they talk about football, and that's it, and that's good night, and they go. Now you see a lot of Europeans, they have big YouTube channels as well. No problem with them, because of course they have put in their hard work. They have done the sacrifice to make their channel big, which is good. And we have tons of Nigerians that subscribe to them, maybe 100,000 subscribe to them. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be. You should subscribe to them, because maybe they're Manchester United, you're a Manchester United fan, you subscribe to Manchester United fans channel. That's fine, no problem. They talk about some other interesting football topics, and you're enjoying it. No problem. You should enjoy it 110%. But I think if you're Nigerian, if Nigerians want this channel to get to 1 million subscribers by the end of this week, it's going to happen. That's something Nigerians I know can do. And why would you want to do that? Because this channel, I'm looking to make it something that really affects people's lives in Nigeria. Not just football, but even extending it. So that's my thoughts on. Sorry for the long talk. It's just something I guess we're passionate about. Thank you for all those that have been watching, that have been subscribing to the channel, have been sharing this channel out there to people that love this sort of content. Thank you for those who have joined the WhatsApp community. And if you go on to become a member of the channel, thank you in advance. So at this point, I've come to the end of the video, and definitely I'll see you on another video. And a video, yes, on today, I'll be doing a reaction to one of the grassroots team games on this channel. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. But at this minute, I'd like to say to have a fantastic rest of your evening. Stay well, and definitely stay blessed. Bye-bye.